Okay, so the new website is called Learn with Nala. This is replacing Write On. Write On, unfortunately, is gone. There isn't an opportunity for us to resurrect it. It's for various reasons. It's 10 years old, which is a very long time in software world. But we're very excited to work with D2L, who's the provider of this new platform, which they call Brightspace. And there's a lot of universities in Ireland, including UCD, that are using this platform as well. So we hope that as learners go on with their learning journey, that it's something that they'll recognise both in their centres and then as they move on later on with their education. Just before we go into the platform itself, what I'll be going through today is getting set up as a centre, how you would create an account for your learners, how you would register for a course and indeed multiple courses, and then how you would get started on a course and what kind of things you can see in the new courses, and then the tutor view. Okay, so some of you may be already set up as a centre. Apologies if you haven't been yet and you've sent in all your details. There was a backlog that we were trying to get through, but we will hopefully get through them all in the next week. You can email me if you're having issues with any of your logins. So what we say is that if you're a centre and you want to use this new platform, we recommend to sign up for the e-zine. The e-zines that are going out look like this. There'll be a lot of information about what new courses have been added, the number of centres that have been added, but we also list the things that you need to do to get started as a centre. So if you were a centre on Write On, we're asking you to re-engage with us again, to fill out an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, to send it back to us. So you can either post it or you can scan it in or take photos of it and return it to Elaine at mou@nala.ie, and also send in a logo for your centre if you have one. If you don't, that's okay too. We can make one for you. Then we will contact you with some details, and it's important that your membership is up to date. So if you're a small organisation membership or large organisation, that you contact Margaret Murray at mmurray@nala.ie. And then we are putting on training. This is our first one, and we'll be putting on another one again in May as a webinar. When you complete the MOU and send it in, as I say, we do ask for a logo. Note that the logo is in this format of 1200 by 242 pixels roughly. So just be aware that if you send us in a very long or wide logo, that we'll have to change the dimensions of it to make it fit this size. So the logo is going to be really a banner. Okay, so it's just to be aware of that. And when you have sent in the MOU and you've sent in the logo, then we will go and set you up, and we will send an email to the centre contact on the MOU. If you have two centre contacts, then we'll send it to both people. The email will look something like this. So it'll say that your centre is now set up and Learn with Nala. Then we'll give you a URL which is specific for your centre. And then we'll give you links to some supports. So we have a getting started short guide. We also have some videos here about how to create an account, start a course, different activity types. And we will give you a tutor login. So that'll be a name and a password, and we'll give you the link where you use that. That will be a different link to the one for the learners. Okay, and I'll explain that as I show you the platform. If you have requested more tutor accounts, again, I will be setting those up in the coming days, so apologies for any delay with those. At the moment, we're just allowing a max of 5 tutors plus 1 centre contact, so that'll be 6 people in total. I appreciate that some of you may want to have more tutors, so if you again just email me on that and we'll see what we can do. We may then have to look at your membership in relation to that. But at the moment it's 5 tutors and 1 contact, and we will get those accounts set up as soon as we can. Also in the email, we'll give you a test account. Please note that we're asking that you don't create any test accounts yourselves. The new platform is using a license model. So it means that every time a learner account is created and they go in and they access content, that's a license gone. If the learner decides then not to continue on their learning journey, that license is still gone. If we delete that account, that license unfortunately is still gone. There's no cost to the learner, and any independent learners who are in a centre, there won't be any cost to them either. But because we have this licensing model and it's our first year of using it, we're just asking that centres don't create test accounts. So on the old platform, we would have had in the order of 70,000 accounts after 10 years, but a lot of those were test accounts, and it also doesn't reflect truly, I suppose, our usage of the platform too. So do come to me if you need a tutor account. Get your centre contact to email me. They'll give me your email address as a tutor, and then we can set up 5, and then we can look at setting up more if needed. The centre email that goes to the centre contact will also have a link to any training and also the free phone number. And we're asking people to use this Google form to report issues. So the link to that can be about queries. For example, if you're not sure about something, or if you're finding a particular issue. So if you think that there's a typo on a screen or something like that, that Google form is what we'll be looking at to try and deal with issues. So to explain to learners that if a learner is in a centre, they'll get a specific link from a tutor, okay, and that will bring them to an account page. And what the result of that is that link will then map to a particular centre. So for example, this one maps to Mayo, Sligo and Leitrim ETB, the centre called LEAP. So if I show you one here, so this is what the URL might look like. There'll be a centre code. Once I scroll down here, what you'll see here then is the name of the learning centre, okay? So the good thing, as opposed to with Write On, is that there isn't a long drop-down list of 190 centres. So we're hoping that this will make it easier for learners to register so that there's no confusion. Also, what was happening is that a lot of learners previously were signing up as centre called None, N-O-N-E, which then meant that if we found an issue with their portfolio work or we needed to contact them, it made it harder for us to track them down. And in some cases, there was a delay then in their certification because they weren't assigned to a particular centre. So that's been done away with now to try and make the process more streamlined and to improve the response that we can give to the learner. So this is the link that goes to the centre contacts. And if you've been set up as a centre tutor, you'll receive this as well. And it brings you straight into an account creation page. So the kind of details that need to be filled in is a username. So for example, I'm going to put in CW Test Learner 2, password, an email. So it does mean that we are requiring learners to have an email, okay? And this is because there's more facilities in the new platform to email people. So just be aware of that. Okay, and it has to be a unique email. So what we would have found on the old platform is that maybe a tutor was using their email for a learner, and then it would be the same email that was being used. And then we were reporting into the PLSS system for Solus the tutor's email. So that's not ideal. So make sure that your learners do have an email. Okay, so then you put in the first name and last name and an address, which would be a house. Just for sake, I'm just typing in the same one. So that would be your house, your street address, your townland, then your county, and then a phone number. Okay, and note that the PPSN is being required at this point, unlike right on where the PPSN was collected at the end. The reason for this is that learners do need to be entered into the PLSS system, and in order to create a learner account on PLSS, we need to have the PPSN number. Okay, so then gender, date of birth. Okay, the center name is already there, so that's coming from that link. And then there's a terms of service and a privacy policy. So when I click on terms of service, there's a video here that will explain the information below, and there's subtitles as well. Okay, it also explains how to go back to the tab, and the same with the privacy policy. There's quite a lengthy video, but it does explain all the different aspects of this. Okay, so that's there for people. So a learner would tick both of those, click on create account, and that's their account created. Okay, so once the account is created, then they're automatically brought to the courses page. Okay, we have 6 level 2 courses launched at the moment. Again, we just have to ask you to bear with us because there's a lot of content on Write-On that's been put up over a 10-year period, and it's been quite a lengthy process to try and get that content moved across. We have put in a release plan for the other courses, so there'll be more level 2s coming now in May. We're hoping to have some level 3s in July. If we have those courses ready earlier, so for example, personal effectiveness, we're aiming to have out in June. So this is an outer date, so just to be aware of that. But if you subscribe for our newsletter, and I can send you slides after today with a link to that subscribe link, then you'll get the latest updates. And as soon as a course is ready, it will be released. Having 6 courses here at the moment does mean that a learner can also go for a general award at level 2. So to register for a course, the learner would click on register now. And then they'll get confirmation that they are registered, and they would go into clicking here to start on that course. What I would recommend is if you want a learner to do several courses, then at this point you could use the back button to go back and then pick another course. Or if you're setting up the account, say over the phone with the learner, you can use this process to go back and select several. Or at any time, instead of doing this process, if you just want to start with one at a time, then you can click on register now and then click on clicking here, and it will bring you to a login page. Now, in this case, because I've already been logged in as myself, it's brought me here. So the browser recognized that. So now I'll go in as my test learner 2. Okay. I would normally be brought in. Okay, so just, I suppose, some information points on all of that to go back to the slides. If you're finding that that URL is very long, you know, or if you're working with a learner, say over the phone, and they're struggling to type in that link on their computer, what I would suggest is using something like tinyURL, where you can put in the long URL and then it'll generate a short one. The other thing you could do is that if you're working with the learner over the phone and you're creating an account, you can go to our NALA website, scroll down to the bottom of the page and go to login, which is here. And then that'll bring them straight into the login page that I was on back here, okay? So think of this platform in two parts. There's the outer part, which is where you register for your account and select courses, and then the inner part, which is where the courses actually are. So at any time, once I log out of this, once the learner has this link, which is simply learn.nala.ie, it comes up a little bit longer there, but I can just do learn.nala.ie. It'll bring me to this login page, okay, which is the same page that you get as a tutor. So just to go over that again, I'll just type in my CW test learner 2, my login page, and my password, and I can log in. Note that unlike the old platform, there is a process here whereby if you forget your password, you can click here and it will send an email to you once your account is created that you can then create a new password. Whereas previously on Write On, people had to ring NALA and get their password redone. Now, if you still need to do that, that's okay too. You can contact us, but it's better for people if they have control over it themselves that they can do that. Okay, so if I click on Login, this is what the inner part of the platform looks like. Okay, so this is the heart of it. And what you'll see is when you come in, is that the courses are here under My Courses. What's also new is that we have a banner put up here. So this is the branding for your centre. So if you've sent us a logo, we'll use that to create this banner. If you don't have a logo, you might see, or you haven't sent us one, you might see that we've created one for you. If you're not entirely happy with it, let us know and we'll change it over the coming weeks. But the whole idea is that although we're calling the platform Learn with NALA, we recognise that these are your learners and that you're helping the learners get over the line with their learning. So we very much wanted to make sure that you have ownership of this and that you feel that. So the branding was very important for us to be able to put in there for a centre. So this is the home page for this inner part of the platform. As I say, the courses are listed here. Below the courses, there should be an announcement. And this video here will explain how to get started with a particular course. So I can click on the square symbol to make the video bigger. And again, okay, so that video is about half a minute and just explains how to get started. What you'll also see here is that there's some help button. So we will populate that with some videos over the coming weeks as well. At the moment, it's just Brightspace videos. And there's a list of awards. I'll explain a little bit about those in a minute. Okay, so this is the home page for the site. So to get started on a course, I click on the course. And now I'm on the home page for the course, okay? So think of it in two ways. There's this course home, and then there's the home page for the site. So I get to the overall home page by clicking on that home button. So just to get into my course again, then this is the course homepage. And yet again in here, there's a video, a very short one, that explains what this course is about. So pattern and relationship. And there's a call to action there, which is the free phone number that people can ring. So to get started then, to see the course material, and the video below will explain this, I click on content. And this will bring us to the lessons page. So if you're familiar with Write On, previously you might remember that there was a path with a little figure or icon that would move up the path. This is something similar, okay? But instead of going up the path, we now go down through the lessons, okay? The only thing that we don't have is that figure. And we are looking at some ways to show progress as we're developing this platform as well. So that's something that we're looking into. But for the moment, what we'd suggest is that somebody starts in a lesson by clicking on the lesson and then click on Start here. Now, at the moment, you'll notice that there is no assessments there. So at level 2, we would have had an initial assessment, which we've changed the naming of now, and we're now calling it going forward, what do I already know? So that it's a nicer, softer term than initial assessment. And the assessment will follow the same process as before, that you can do the assessment. If you pass it, you'll get straight to the summative assessment, which we're now calling end test. And the end test then will allow people to go forward and get an award. Alternatively, if people don't pass the little tasks, as we're calling them, that's in that initial assessment, they can go through the content and step all the way through it to get to the end test. We haven't launched the assessments at the moment. There's a small issue with the scoring, which we hope to have addressed by next week. And for the moment, we've just left in the lessons so that people can at least get started on the content. They can get familiar with the new platform. They can also dip in and out of the content as well. So for example, if I go back to content and go back to this lessons page, you can see that a tick has appeared now because I've visited that page. But I could just as easily click in here and do this particular exercise if I wanted. So unlike Write On, where you had to follow everything sequentially, there's more options to dip in and out, okay? So that might be something that you might prefer, particularly if you're using this for blended learning, and hopefully when the centres are open again, that you don't need to step through everything. So that's just something, as I say, to think about. What we recommend on the videos and in any of the instructions is to click on Start here and for people to work their way through it. There is a video here that will always explain 1 or 2 of the activity types that's within the lesson, just because we know that this is going to be new for people. So what you will notice is that there is this text-to-speech symbol. So I would click on this as before, which would help me to read this text. Okay, the voice is a little bit different to what it was before. We hope it's better. And then once somebody has gone through the screen, then we recommend in the video to click on Next. They can always go back by going to previous activity. Some of the content will be like this, so it's information. And then some will be activities like this. So this is very similar to what you would have seen on Write On. It's drag and drop. So the idea is that I take the things from the left and put them into the correct place on the right. What we explain in the videos is that when you click on the item and drag it across, just position it there sort of at the top of the box. And when I release now with my mouse, it falls into it. Okay. So again, I click on the item, drag it across, just position it kind of over the top of the box and release. So once I've completed everything, I can click on Check Answers and I'll get my feedback. There's an option to try again. Note that the order is randomized here now. So if I wanted to do that and just practice again, I could do that. Or if I was halfway through and I wasn't happy with what I was doing, I could click on Clear Answers and it will reset it. Okay. And just to show you what the maybe negative feedback looks like, if I click on Check Answers, then I get a score. So it indicates what's right and what's wrong. Okay, some of the other activities are like this type of drag and drop, which is text. Okay. Note the number here, 3, indicates how many things can go into that area. So if I try to drag a 4th one in, I might get a message like this. Again, some of the messages are a little bit, maybe the spelling and so on needs to be changed in these. So just, I suppose, to be aware of that may happen. Okay. Then I can check answers and I can get my score and I can continue on as I would have on right on. Okay. There are some newer question types. For example, this one is a sequencing one. So in this type of activity, the learner has to drag the things along the bottom to match the right place on the top. So I would click on my item, drag it along. And when I see a green bar, that means it's in the correct place. So there's no scoring on this particular type of activity. But what you see are these green bars. Now I may have to just reshuffle things a little bit, and then I get all green bars. Okay. We won't have this type of activity in the assessments when they're launched because they are a new activity and there is no score. But I think it's nice for learners to have an opportunity to do something that's not always about getting a score either, to try and get the feedback in a different way. Okay. That's that type of activity. Just to show you some other activity types. Okay, so I can decide, for example, to go into another lesson and maybe to start midway through. Okay, so for example, this one is what we call a hotspot. So the whole idea is that the learner has to look at the image and then find or do the particular task. So in this case, it's to find 4 groups of items. So if I click on, for example, the chairs, it says there's an item found, and then it'll ask me how many chairs are in this kitchen, and I'll answer it. And then what we'll see is that 1 item has been found. So I need to continue on until all 4 items have been found. So that's a new type of question. Again, it won't be in the assessments, but will be in the content that we've released at the moment. Okay, when a learner gets to an end of a unit, and if they've stepped through some of the content like I have there and they haven't done it completely, once I click on, it'll list, first of all, the things that I haven't done. It'll also give a little icon here to show that there's only so much done, and I can click on back to content. Okay, and in here I get ticks for what I have done, and the rest of it is unticked as well. So that's, again, as a tutor, just to be aware of that ability to be able to start wherever in the content. And I'd recommend to go through the courses and get familiar with the content. Everything is mapped out to the learning outcomes from QQI. And insofar as possible, we've tried to use the same questions that we had in Write On. In some cases, we've lost one or two question types and we've replaced them with other question types, but they're all testing the same learning as before. If I wanted to close this lesson and move on to another lesson, then I can click on lesson 3 or lesson 4 and then decide where to start. And again, at any time, I can go to course home. If I wanted to start, if I wanted to go back over the video, or indeed home rather, if I wanted to start on another course. So learners can start on a multitude of courses and have progress at different levels. But that would be up to yourselves to decide, how you'd prefer to do it. Maybe it's to get a learner to concentrate on one course and complete it, or maybe you'd like them to do a range and then have a look at how they're getting on. So just to go back to the slides again, so I mentioned about that URL. If you needed to go back after setting up, say, the first course, you could go to that link. So for example, whatever is your center link, I would see the center name below. Or you can just simply then go to Start Now and then register for your next course. So you can do it all in a sequence like I did at the outset, or let the learner just register for one, and then later on they can go back to their URL, make sure that they are logged in, which I already am back here, and then register for their particular course. So some of the new things that I mentioned, so we have a branded homepage, we have instructional videos, we have some new question types, and then we also have badges or awards. So what you'll see is, if I go back here again, and I'm going to just log out as this learner and log in as another one. So when I click on awards, I'll see the awards that are available to me, or badges. So what we've done is that we've given or created a badge for every learning outcome, which maps to every lesson. So if a learner would complete a block of content, then they will get a badge like this, okay? And this will pop up as they're going through the content. So if I go to a course here, like say pattern relationship and awards, then I can see what awards are available. And it tells you that, you've done task 2 or completed the lesson. So these, again, all map to the learning outcomes. And I think this will be particularly nice when we get on to the likes of, say, maths at level 3, where there's a lot of learning outcomes, that it will encourage learners then to be able to see particular outcomes and reach them and feel that it's achievable. Okay, so that's what the awards are. So as a learner, once I'm going through the content and I'm working my way through the lessons, when I complete each lesson, then a little pop-up will come up about the award, or I can click on the award symbol and find out more about my awards. So as a tutor, you'll have been given a link from me and a login and password, which again, you can change the password once you've been given the link, and I can log in. And if I log into a particular course, say using technology, and then go to course admin, and class progress. In here, I'll be able to see the progress for my class. So this was a learner that I created earlier, and we can see how much content that they have visited. And here's the account that I just created. So we can see that this person or learner has logged in twice, but they didn't visit any of the content on that course. Okay. Once we have the assessments launched, so the initial and summative, then you'll be able to see grades in here as well. Okay. So that's how you'll be able to get a report on course level for your learners. If you wanted a detailed report as a centre, we would have to send that to you. So we don't have a way at the moment that you can see this through here, but you can at least go on in each course and then see how particular learners are getting on. So that's a brief introduction. I'll allow some minutes now for questions, and I'm just going to stop the recording. Also, I will send you out these links afterwards. So the links that are in here is to the subscribe list, where you can get a link to the MOU if you need it as a centre, to the URL shortener, to our NALA website that has some information about our new platform, and to courses, which is where you can go and register as a course. The last point that I should say just before I get into the questions is that when you go to courses.nala.ie, the outer part of the platform, if you are a centre, you can always, or interested in becoming a centre, you can always click on Become a Centre. And then there's register your interest part there as well. And I'll pick up those and get the right person to send the MOU information to you. So just be aware that that's there as well. Okay, so any questions? Okay, so I don't see any questions in the chat. I'm going to stop the recording.